The subject line of the email hit me like a sucker punch. Of course, there was no return involved, at least not for me. I'd been hired for a fully remote position before the pandemic hit. I couldn't help but remember the countless hours I spent hunting for a job like that, and how thrilled I was when I finally landed it. It wasn't an easy job, but I was good at it. My husband and I had structured our entire family life around the flexibility it gave us. Now, my employer had the audacity to claim that revoking the commitment it had made to me would somehow boost productivity, promote greater collaboration, and create a sense of family among the staff. I just rolled my eyes. None of that made sense to me. The email went on to say that true success and experience could only be achieved by showing up to the office regularly. It sounded like our CEO, true to form, was projecting his own incompetence onto the rest of us. I couldn't help but wonder, why couldn't I, or anyone else on my team for that matter, be lazy and short-sighted enough to climb the corporate ladder like he had? My husband and I scrambled to make adjustments to our lives as my job search led nowhere. Realizing we couldn't give our dog the care and exercise she needed, we had to send her to live with my mother-in-law. We started coordinating our work hours so one of us could drop off our twins at daycare and the other could pick them up later. My husband, always the optimist, kept reminding me that in the grand scheme of things, we were still living a good life, even if we were going to have less time together as a family. I know, I said. It's just that we all know these changes aren't being made for the right reasons. We're going backwards, just because these idiots at the top think they know what they're doing. I shrugged, feeling worn out and frustrated. But, I guess that's always how it goes, right? Finding a parking spot was a nightmare. I had no choice but to drive, since there was no public transportation nearby. I spent over 20 minutes circling all 9 floors of the garage looking for a spot. Finally, I squeezed my car into the only gap available between a support column and a truck that was parked poorly, the driver's side sticking way over the line. I had to climb out of the back seat to get out of my car. As I rushed down the staircase toward the main building, I wondered how anyone else arriving after me was going to find a place to park. After all, I had gotten there fairly early, and I hadn't seen any open spaces. Passing beneath the huge Abernathy Industries sign, I walked into the lobby where a young woman in a blue jacket and skirt waved at me. "You must be Cora," she said, before introducing herself as Monica. "I'm with HR, and I'll be showing you to your office." "Nice to meet you, Monica," I replied. "I think we've emailed a few times." "We sure have," Monica said, her face lighting up with a huge smile. "This is such an exciting day for me," she gushed, a tear in her eye. "For all of us, really. You've been with the company for years, but now it feels different. It's like you're really part of our family." I was caught off guard by that. Honestly, I couldn't think of anything less appealing than seeing the people I work with as family. They weren't my brothers, my sisters, or even distant relatives. So, where's my office?" I asked, trying to steer the conversation elsewhere. "Oh, right," Monica said, snapping back to reality. "Follow me." She led me to the elevator, and as we passed a set of double doors labeled auditorium, Monica explained, "We host big events in there. In fact, we're holding a welcome celebration for you and the other remote workers this afternoon. Everyone's going to be there. We're all really excited about it." My stomach churned at the thought of an office gathering. All I wanted from this company was my paycheck, not a celebration of how they were making my life harder. Once we were inside the elevator, Monica pressed the button for the 19th floor, which confused me. My supervisor had told me that my team's office was on the 18th floor. Reading my confusion, Monica quickly explained, "There are renovations happening on the 18th floor, so you'll have to go to 19 and then work your way down. I'll show you the way." I mumbled a quiet okay, feeling annoyed by the extra time it would take to get to my office. When the elevator doors opened, I was greeted by a dark, drab hallway. Half of the lights overhead were broken, and the rest flickered intermittently. The narrow strip of marble floor was surrounded by carpet in ugly shades of brown, gray, and green. "Accounting is that way," Monica said, gesturing to the right, "and HR, including my office, is straight ahead. But for now, follow me through sales." Monica darted off into the shadows, and I had no choice but to rush after her. She moved quickly, so I picked up my pace to stay close. We passed a mix of offices, cubicles, a rundown kitchen, and copy machines. I was starting to lose track of where we were going as Monica turned left, then right, then left again, leading me deeper into the maze. As we passed the corner office, I noticed a figure sitting at the desk through a frosted glass window. The man was immobile, staring blankly ahead. What was strange was that his face seemed to be completely featureless, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just smooth skin. That's not right, I thought. Maybe the window was frosted more than I realized, or my eyes were playing tricks on me in the low light. Monica's voice echoed from the distance. Cora, you still with me? Yeah, I called back, hurrying to catch up. I'm coming. Monica led me down a staircase, and the floor below was just as dreary as the one above. Getting to my cubicle felt like navigating a maze of narrow hallways. And here you go, your own little workspace, Monica announced as I looked around at the tiny area. There was nothing but a beat-up chair facing a dusty computer sitting on a plain desk. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you later at the welcome party. Actually, I do have a few questions, I said, sitting down in the chair. Like, why is the lighting so bad? And what's the deal with the strange route we took to get here? Oh, and the parking garage, how are people supposed to park here? I was about to keep going when I turned around, only to find Monica was already gone. Monica? I called, but she didn't respond. I stood up to look for her, but it was like she had disappeared into thin air. I sat there for a moment, staring at the computer screen. It flickered to life, only to shut down again almost immediately. I groaned, watching it restart over and over, the same thing happening each time, until finally, the login screen appeared. I quickly entered my username and password. The computer's hard drive seemed to be working overtime, making strange noises as if it was about to burst from the strain. How was I supposed to get anything done with all this malfunctioning? If I still had my work laptop, the one I'd been told to send back a few days ago, I would have already gotten through half of my tasks. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, everything loaded up. I opened 2 spreadsheets and was just about to start working when a voice startled me. Cora. So good to see you. I spun around to find a Hispanic woman with long brown hair standing there. Before I could react, she rushed up to me and wrapped her arms around me in a tight hug. Whoa, hold on! I shouted, shoving her off me in shock. She stumbled back, a look of confusion and concern crossing her face. Is everything okay, Cora? Did I surprise you? Who are you? I asked, still trying to figure out what just happened. What? Come on, you know who I am. Don't be silly, she said, clearly annoyed. No, I don't, I replied, feeling more confused by the second. She sighed, rolling her eyes. Cora, come on. It's me, Ava. We've worked together on all kinds of projects. We've had tons of video calls. Why are you pretending like you don't know me? This left me completely speechless. The Ava she was describing didn't match the person standing in front of me at all. The real Ava, the one I knew, was black, had a completely different voice, and was never the type to hug me without warning. When I didn't say anything, fake Ava kept talking. It's probably just the lighting in here. It's kind of dim, isn't it? I hated it at first too, but you get used to it. The company removed a lot of the lights to save money, and it stopped bothering me after a while. She kept going, not picking up on my clear lack of interest. Anyway, did you hear about Michael? His wife found those pictures I told you about, the ones with that flight attendant, and now she's furious. Michael's still. I tried to process everything she was saying, but my mind was racing. Who was this woman pretending to be Ava? And why was everything about the office so strange? Anyway, fake Ava continued after a while. Are you okay, Cora? You look like you're about to fall asleep. Yeah, I'm just tired, I answered honestly. James and Ella had woken up twice last night, and I barely slept. Your twins keeping you up again? She asked, sounding like she knew a lot more about my personal life than I was comfortable with. I had talked to the real Ava about family stuff, but I never mentioned anything to this woman. How do you know about that? I blurted out before I could stop myself. Fake Ava gave me a warm smile, completely ignoring my unease. I've heard you talk about it before. Anyway, let's chat later. I need to get back to work. Sure thing. Let's grab lunch soon, she said, finally walking away. I let out a sigh of relief and turned back to my computer. I briefly entertained the thought of just quitting and walking out, if I could even find the exit. Today had been nothing but uncomfortable and strange. I had no idea how I'd make it through another day here. Opening up a new Word document, I started typing up a resignation email to my supervisor. I let everything I felt spill out in the most unfiltered way possible, throwing in some choice words about the leadership. I knew I'd have to tone it down later, but for now, it felt good to get it all off my chest. As I typed, the words blurred together. The combination of the dim lights and lack of sleep from the night before made me dizzy. I'll just close my eyes for a second, I told myself, leaning back in my chair, my mind drifting into memories of better days. I woke up to an odd, high-pitched whine. For a moment, I thought it was James or Ella, their usual late-night cry signaling that they needed a diaper change or a feeding. But then, as my brain started to clear, I realized something. I wasn't home with my babies. I was still at work, and somehow, I'd managed to fall into a deep sleep right here in my cubicle. Sorry excuse for a chair. I grabbed my phone, panicked. It was 3:01 p.m. I'd slept away most of the day. What the hell? I thought. I'd never done this before. Never fallen asleep at work, let alone for so long. But, to be fair, nearly all the lights were out, and the room was nearly pitch black. Whatever. I'd already made up my mind to quit. Maybe it was some consolation prize that I got the deepest nap I'd had since giving birth to the twins, right on the day I was planning to hand in my 2-week notice. But then I realized something. Why was it so dark? And what was that weird sound still wailing through the office? It was almost like it was calling me. I looked at my computer. Something wasn't right. The keys felt off when I pressed them, they didn't respond, didn't click, didn't even feel like the normal keyboard I'd been using for years. Using the flashlight on my phone, I peered closer. That's when I saw it. My computer had been replaced with a paper replica. Like something you'd see at an office supply store as a fake display. What the hell is going on? I thought, my mind racing. Not only was my computer swapped out while I'd been asleep, but who the hell would do that? I wasn't sticking around to find out. I got up, trying to leave my cubicle, but the first thing that hit me was the eerie silence. The hallways were empty. No footsteps, no voices, not a soul in sight. My phone's flashlight illuminated random signs of life, a coffee mug, a half-eaten snack, a stray pen, but no people. The picture frames on desks had no photos, just empty frames hanging on walls. I tried to retrace the way Monica had taken me when we first got here, but quickly found myself at a dead end. Hello? I called out, my voice echoing in the silence. Can anyone help me? I'm a little lost. There was no response. I wandered around, turning down hallways that seemed to stretch on endlessly, when something hit me. There were no windows. Not one. Even though the office seemed to go on forever, there was no hint of the outside world. No light from the sun, no view of the sky. It felt like I was trapped. I passed 2 stairwells, but both doors were locked. One of them, labeled emergency exit, was chained shut with heavy metal chains, which I'm pretty sure is a fire hazard. That sound returned, reverberating in the distance. I followed it, hoping it would lead me somewhere, anywhere. As I walked, the carpet beneath my feet felt damp. I shined my flashlight on the floor and noticed a puddle forming. It wasn't water, it had a strange, murky, greenish tint to it. I traced the liquid back to its source, an air vent, dripping steadily onto the carpet below. I stepped carefully around the puddle and approached a door that seemed to be where the sound was coming from. When I opened it, bright light flooded out, forcing me to squint and shield my eyes. When my vision finally adjusted, I saw the source of the sound, a copy machine. It was stuck in an endless loop, spitting out blank sheets of paper over and over. They went in on one side, came out on the other, and as soon as the tray got full, the paper slid back into the machine, only to start the cycle again. It made an awful, mechanical noise, echoing through the empty room. I walked up to it and hit the power button, holding it until the machine stopped. The silence that followed was almost worse than the noise. I walked back into the hallway, still holding my phone light in front of me. I tried opening doors as I passed, but most were locked. Some led to empty offices. Others led to small closets or break rooms with half-drunk coffee cups and crumbs scattered on the tables. The more I walked, the more everything started to feel wrong. The darkness seemed to close in on me, even with my phone's light cutting through it. The more I moved, the more familiar things started to look. The same supply cabinet with purple highlighters, the same puddle of strange liquid, the same overturned chair in the same cubicle. Was I going in circles? How was that even possible? I hadn't taken any turns that I could remember, and yet everything seemed out of place. I felt thirsty. My phone's battery was running low, and when I tried calling my husband, the call failed, even though it showed I had full service. I tried again, but the result was the same. It was like the phone wasn't connected to anything. Then, from somewhere deep in the building, I heard it. First, it sounded like faint, high-pitched giggles, and then, as I drew closer, the laughter grew louder, more distinct. It wasn't just a few people. It was a crowd, their voices blending into something unnerving. I stopped dead in my tracks. What the hell was going on here? How anyone could feel compelled to express any kind of joy in this hellhole left me utterly confused, but I pressed on, determined to track down the source of that maddening laughter. I told myself that if I just followed it, I would find someone who could lead me out of this nightmare. But deep down, what I really wanted was the simple reassurance that I wasn't stuck here all alone. I ran down hallways, climbed over cubicle walls, yanked at stuck doorknobs, and stormed through the sticky, dilapidated kitchen, my eyes desperately searching for a way out. Eventually, I stumbled into a narrow corridor. At the far end, a harsh overhead light blazed over an open rectangular space. At least a dozen figures stood in it, but my eyes, now adjusted to the dimness, couldn't make out any distinct features. They just stood there, motionless, staring at me. Then, in an instant, they were gone. The laughter faded with them, leaving behind the same sterile, suffocating silence that had clung to this place. Had they run off? Had they gone somewhere else? I wasn't sure, but I had to know. I chased after them, calling out for help, my voice echoing through the empty halls. I found myself exactly where I had hoped to be, an elevator lobby. But contrary to Monica's warning, there were no signs of renovation here. These people had to have just gone downstairs, I thought. I didn't bother wondering why they were standing there, or why they had been laughing so long. I didn't care. I just needed to get out. I pressed the down button, my hand trembling. Holding my breath, I watched as the floor numbers ticked down, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The elevator doors finally opened to reveal a clean, well-lit cabin. I rushed inside, slammed the lobby button, and breathed a sigh of relief as the doors closed and the elevator started its descent. I tapped my fingers impatiently against the wall, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, the elevator stopped, and the doors slid open to reveal the main lobby. One final obstacle remained between me and freedom, a pale woman with curly red hair, the first person I'd seen in ages. Her face lit up when she saw me. "Girl, what took you so long?" she hollered in a sickeningly cheerful voice. "You almost missed it. Come on." I muttered, trying to push past her, my gaze fixed firmly on the exit. But she moved fast, her strong hand grabbing my wrist before I could escape. I struggled, but with unnerving strength, she kept me in place. "Cora, the party's that way," she said, her voice cool and insistent. She pointed to the auditorium with the hand that wasn't holding me. "I know you're dying to see the twins, but you have to at least make an appearance." "Let me go!" I screamed, tugging against her grip. She didn't flinch. Instead, her face shifted into a deadpan expression. "Cora, we're not doing this. First you pretend not to know me, then you zone out when I tell you about Michael, and now you're trying to skip your own welcome back party? What happened to you? We were like sisters." My jaw dropped. This woman, was she pretending to be Ava? I pulled harder, trying to break free, but in a swift move, the woman, the fake Ava, spun around and wrenched me back, dragging me toward the auditorium. I kicked and screamed, but the more I fought, the more exhausted I became. She was too strong. Some of what happened next was a blur. I remember being dragged past row after row of empty seats, through puddles of rancid goo, onto a stage covered in banners, streamers, and balloons. An unnatural warmth radiated from above, making the air thick and stifling. And then, it hit me, I was being watched. But not by anyone human. No, there was something else, something hostile and terrifying in that space. My eyes caught a loose balloon, and I watched as it floated upwards toward the ceiling. It didn't take long for it to reach its peak, and with a sickening pop, it burst, revealing the nightmare that lay above. What I saw made me freeze in horror. A mass of twisted body parts, limbs, torsos, ears, lips, and worst of all, faces. So many faces, floating in a grotesque, inverted pool, each one contorted in pain, mouths wide open, dripping a sickly green substance onto the stage below. A chorus of voices, one unmistakably Monica's, began to speak. "Welcome home. We're happy to have you here with us. We've been waiting for you. I knew you'd make it." I stood there, paralyzed, unable to look away as the faces began to merge, forming one enormous, monstrous face. A gaping mouth, lined with hundreds of lips, filled with rows upon rows of teeth. From that mouth, a long, slimy organ slithered out, landing with a wet plop at my feet. It was a tongue, stitched together from the tongues of everyone who had ever worked at the company, marketers, janitors, supervisors, accountants, secretaries. The fake Ava shoved me closer to it. For a moment, I wondered if I should just give in. What would it feel like to be swallowed up by that thing? To be consumed, absorbed into it, a part of something endless and all-encompassing? To have all my worries, my pain, my life erased in one horrible gulp. But then, the image of my husband, my twins, flashed in my mind. James and Ella were counting on me. I had to fight for them. I had to live for them. I snapped back into action. I dug my nails into the woman's arm, scratching and clawing until she cried out in pain, finally weakening her grip. With everything I had left, I wrenched myself free and ran. I could hear the creature above me screaming, the thousands of faces shrieking in furious disapproval, but I didn't look back. I didn't dare. I ran. I sprinted across the auditorium, through the lobby, and out the front door. I didn't stop until my feet were blistered and my body couldn't carry me any farther. I didn't care about my car. I assumed it was still parked where I'd left it, between the support column and the truck. I just wanted to put as much distance as I could between me and that place. The next morning, I found a strange email on my computer. It was from Monica, confirming that my resignation had been accepted. It was odd because I hadn't even finished writing, let alone sent, that email. But I didn't argue with it. Monica promised a good severance package and even mentioned that I wouldn't have to do any more paperwork or finish any projects. A clean break. "Best wishes to you and your family," she wrote. At first, it seemed harmless enough. But then, I realized why it unsettled me. It was what that thing, the face in the ceiling, had said to me right before I fled. "Join us, Cora. Come, become a part of our family."